Hi everyone, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of Little Life Lessons. We're on episode number 20. Yay! Today I actually had a little bit of a mental block and I was like, oh, I want to film a podcast episode because I want to stay consistent for you guys. But I realized I liked interviewing people more than doing the talking. And yes, I have like a YouTube channel and yes, I do like solo podcasting and stuff. Of course, like definitely check out my other episodes. I'm happy that I'm filming this episode. But before we get started on the topic, I wanted to let you guys know that I just changed my banner. Well, I just added a new banner because I realized my channel didn't have a banner and there we go, new banner. And also thank you for over 500 views on my last video. What? Thank you so much. That is currently my most viewed video on my new podcast YouTube channel. I started a separate channel for my podcast and at first I was so scared because I was like, no one's gonna subscribe, like what? But now we have over 30 subscribers. Isn't that crazy? I kind of forgot what it feels like to start like a YouTube channel from scratch because I do have my vlog channel and I've had that since I was like 15, so I did forget a little bit of like what it was like to build something like that. And honestly, I think I'm just meant to like start things. My numerology life path is also one, so maybe just like starting things is like my favorite thing because when I start something, I love that. I love the energy of it. I love building things. I love creating the foundation of different things. So I'm really enjoying the journey of my podcast channel right now. The podcast topic I really wanted to talk about today is letting things go. More specifically, letting the small stuff go. That has been a lesson that I've been learning lately. I think I have a lot to learn from my younger self, especially my high school self, because I feel like I was just such a free and happy person. It was because I was in a perfect space of life where I was learning so much. Like I was learning and falling in love with dance and having a great community around me and felt like I was in a safe space. So because of that environment, I was very free and very light. Things didn't feel as personal and small things didn't matter as much because I had like a bigger goal in mind. And I think in your early 20s to mid 20s, you can kind of get lost of like the bigger goal because we have to like build a life. And I feel like life is like a forever goal. I don't have that like one big thing where I'm just like so focused and engulfed in where like all the small things don't matter. So sometimes when like small instances happen in life, it can feel a lot deeper and a lot more personal because you have a lot more energy generated towards that thing and that situation. But I've learned that if you let the small things go, it would provide you so much peace because the bigger picture is your happiness. Like letting go of the small interactions and things that don't mean as much is very valuable in maintaining that peace. For example, if an interaction happens and you're like, oh, like why did that just happen? Why did they say that? Is it me? What happened in that situation? Like overanalyzing that situation. Sometimes your energy just doesn't need to go there. And sometimes it can just be like, okay, that happened the way it did and it's fine, and you just let it go and just cut that there. And I am also a big believer of like feeling your feelings, but I feel like if something annoys you, instead of sitting in that annoyance and like letting it pester, just cut it off and just like move it to the side. Maybe like see if you're okay, eat or something and like take a breath and see like how you're feeling and check in on yourself, because a lot of the times a lot of things feel a lot deeper because I'm either hungry or overstimulated or just tired. Like those are the factors that make a lot of things feel deeper. And that kind of leads me to my other point where like survival mode is a thing, guys. Like if you're in survival mode, I feel like when somebody's in survival mode, the best thing to do is to do the steps necessary to get out of survival mode. I do think a lot of times when people are in survival mode, they become very like emotional and philosophical, which is very valid. Like you want to lean towards like faith and something out of this world to help you and guide you because you feel very uncomfortable in your life, and that is very valid and very real. And I say always lean on faith, honestly, but I also think you have to take the necessary steps to get out of that. So whether it be a relationship heartbreak, or it be your finances, or it be like the stress of finding a new apartment or something like that, that's like a very physical stress that's putting a lot of stress on your body, your mind. If it's putting you in a state of lack almost, then allow yourself to take the necessary precautions to do it. And sometimes you just have to remove the emotional aspect of it, like not feeling too much of the stress, but take the actual necessary steps. And I think that becomes easier. But we're all human, like give yourself grace if you don't do that. And I think it's like feeling those feelings that make you smarter for the next time something like that happens. I am kind of going off on a tangent because I really don't have anything structured. So when I don't have like a specific point, I go really deep sometimes. I just get really analytical. That's totally okay. That's just like the way I operate and the way I think. That's why I just like learning from other people and like having people on my podcast, which also like leads me to the point that I'm really excited to bring some amazing guests on and like some of my friends and people I've always wanted to interview, and you guys should definitely stay tuned for the next few episodes. But going back to what I was saying before of letting the small things go, I think sometimes it's easier to like harp on the smaller things and the things that bring you like the day-to-day annoyance, because we lack that bigger thing that provides us like that really strong sense of joy or dopamine and stuff like that. And I don't think you should have that thing all the time in your life. Do you think sometimes people go in search of that one thing they want to obsess over and be consumed by because they want that feeling of being invested? And I think that comes in life naturally. Like if you think about it, crushes, for example. Sometimes when you're least expecting it, you have this immense crush, and then all you can think about is them. Like you cannot think about anything else or anyone else except them. Like, and then when that happens, the joy of that relationship and that person and everything about them and like this, fantasizing like the relationship and what it is can just make the small annoyances of like the day-to-day feel like nothing. Like something happens where you would usually get annoyed by, but you don't because you have this like really strong sense of thing that brings you joy. I think like that happens in life in phases. If you just let it, like if you're not really going and searching for it, like if you're not like someone who's like, I need that next thing that brings me joy, most of the time it just comes in phases, because low key, you need like a time to debrief after something like that comes into your life. Like whether it be a person, a place, or thing, like it can be an instance that happens, it could be a person, and it also can be a new move or something. It's healthy if it just comes in waves, because after that and after like the high of it dies down, then after that I do feel like there needs to be a come down, and from that there needs to be like a equilibrium where you just like adjust to your new norm with the new idea of that thing is in my life or has appeared in my life, and then now where's my new norm? Because I do think some people can get like really excited by the highs of those things and really excited by like the obsession of things, and then wanting to easily search for that next thing without letting that equilibrium moment happen. But honestly, everyone's different, so I don't want to like just be like, you shouldn't do this, you should do that. Which is why my podcast is the way it is, because I really don't want to be a podcast or like have videos out where I'm just telling people how to live life. I just want it to be a little bit more philosophical in a no judgment way. Like if you guys have other ideologies, let me know, but I don't want it to be like, well, if you're doing this, then do this, da 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 da, or like, then he's trash, da da. Like I don't want it to be so like direct, because I feel like everyone just has a different way of living life, and everyone should live their life differently, and everyone is just meant to do something different. Also, on another note, it's almost been 4 years since I've been journaling every single day. And when I say journaling, I mean like writing my goals down every single day. And I honestly recommend that to everyone watching this, because whether it be like your goals every single day or if it's journaling your feelings every single day, I recommend doing something like that, because it really just shows you what discipline is. You see how consistency can change your perspective on things. Like when I started journaling in the beginning, I was just so excited. I was like, I can't believe I'm doing this. Like I didn't feel like I was the person that was doing that every day. I was just like really inspired by myself. And when I was consistent for a month, I was like, oh my goodness, that's crazy. Like I can't believe I'm doing this. I'm so proud of myself. When I hit that 1 year mark, I was like, this is a little hard. Am I really gonna do this maybe the foreseeable rest of my life? And then I imagined that, and then low-key that stressed me out. And I was like, no, let's just take it day by day. And now that I'm almost at the 4 year mark, it kind of just feels mindless to me. It doesn't seem big anymore because I have just become the person that does that. And I'm saying this in like a very analytical way because I feel like I can put that into something else. Like, say if you guys want to do something else where you're inspired by something and want to be consistent in it, I feel like this is kind of like the journey of consistency and discipline, where once you become that identity, you really don't get excited by it, but it just becomes a part of you. You just do it in a way that's just not mindless, but just like no emotional high or low. You just do it because it needs to be done. And I think when you do attach emotion to stuff, it can become harder to do, and then you just want to procrastinate. But once you let it go and just stay consistent, then that emotional aspect fades and it just becomes the new norm. Also, another journey that I've been thinking about is feeling your emotions, because I used to say in my podcast, like, feel your emotions, like let yourself feel your emotions. And I think that's real. That's something that you should do. But I also think that sometimes you just have to put some things aside and like choose your battles. I'm still learning that to this day, because there was a phase of life where I would just push things away and not feel my emotions at all. I felt like the opposite of that had to be feeling everything, so I could figure out what I needed to invest my emotional energy in and then not. You can kind of start choosing what can consume your energy or not, but that's not easy. Like, it's not like, okay, I choose yes and I choose no. Like, no, it's not a switch like that. We're not in the Vampire Diaries, okay? You're just more aware of how things can impact you once you allow yourself to feel things, and how sometimes where you let a small situation consume too much of your energy, the next time something like that happens, you can just let it go a little bit easier. And also, I think once you choose to let the small things go, like, it's a choice. It's not something where you just say like, I will become that person when I'm ready. No, I think it's an active choice, and then you become that person. Because once I started letting like the small things go, where it's just like, okay, like I'm never gonna see them again, just not let it pester within myself. Sometimes when situations happen, you're just like, okay, like you see it for what it is and you move past it. And then you find a lot more peace. Even though I thought that I would become that person and then I would start like making those choices. But no, you actually start making those choices and then you slowly become that person. And sometimes that can be undone by the choices you make. So it's always like a give and a take thing. And that's the thing about life. Life is very like, you don't know. And also, I'm 25, so of course, like, there's so much in life to learn. There's so much, like, life is so simple but so complicated. It just depends on what kind of life you live. When you're a kid, you really understand the simple facts of life, like the wise words that just circulate in humanity. And then there's like the complicated things where you experience the duality of a situation when you're on both sides and you feel both sides of the emotion. And then you're like, okay, well, how do I find the balance within it all? And I think that's when life can become complicated, especially if you're meeting so many different kinds of people. And life is not always made up of the big moments. Sometimes it's just the quality of life and how your day-to-day is. And I think about this a lot, where I see celebrities like on stage and stuff, or they're performing, they still go home and they still sleep on a bed, you know? They still do the simple things. And I think sometimes we always chase those big things, but when you're able to make the small things matter also, the big things become even more extravagant. But I also think that when you create a space for yourself where you're able to sit in the small moments and like the little joys of life, you're able to appreciate the big moments more. But when there is a come down of those big moments, you're able to come back to your everyday life, because the small things in life also bring you joy, whether it be your like morning routine or your cup of coffee in the morning. But whatever it is for you, I think you just make it so you and so for you that you just want to exist in it, you know? You just want to exist in a life that you built for yourself. That is pretty much all for today. I know this is a short episode, and when it is a solo episode, you guys should probably expect a short episode, because honestly, I feel like I'm just being repetitive. And I also realize I do love having guests on my podcast, so I'm gonna lean more towards that. Thank you so much for listening and following along. So let's get to our little loves. If you guys don't know, in this podcast we do one thing that we love about ourselves and then one thing we love about life in general in that moment in time. And right now, one thing I love about life in general is the new table I got, which is what you guys are sitting on right now. It's really cool because it like slants down and I can adjust it, like the height of it, but also it slides under my couch, which my old table didn't. And I love that it does that, because it creates so much more space in my living room that isn't that large. And then one thing I love about myself is the way I take care of myself, because I do love the foundation of like the relationship that I built with myself and like the way I check in with myself. And on that note, that concludes episode 20 of Little Life Lessons. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I'll see you next Monday. Bye.